Welcome to another weekly featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, James Moffat, where he will gracefully take our featured guest on a personal and business journey and stories that will inspire, educate, and engage you.
Okay, so welcome to another Friday featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, myself, James Moffat. Today we have our, I need to check, 97th guest. Were you 97? Oh, good. I always forget the number. Right. So our 92nd guest, 7th guest is Daan Gorter. Is that correct?
That's good enough.
All right. Well, you can say it because I know it's a Dutch name. So, I mean, I know you don't actually say Dan, you say Daan.
You say Daan, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's whatever.
All right. Okay. So, our 97th guest. So, we're going to learn all about Daan. And we take you through a story from your childhood and up to where you are now with any memorable experiences that you want to share with us on the way. I know from reading through the notes, there's a lot. So we'll have to skip some of those, but anyone that wants to catch up with Daan afterwards, there'll be a link and people can listen to the recording and also connect with you via the links that we're going to share at the end. So before we get going, and everyone wants to learn about Daan, we normally kick this off with our Emily that normally sings, but unfortunately, she can't make it today. So we don't just have a guest speaker, we have a guest singer, one in the same person. All right, so Dan, you're going to kick off the show for yourself. So this would be a first, actually. So Dan, over to you.
So I'm going to play a song for you all, which is called 𝗙𝗘𝗦𝗧 by 𝗙𝗘𝗘𝗞. 𝗙𝗘𝗘𝗞 is a plant medicine facilitator from Australia. And it was actually the first song that I learned to play in the own ceremonies that I guide myself. So I hope you enjoy. I wanna be free, so free, like the flowers and the bees, like the birds in the trees, like the dolphins in the seas. I wanna fly high, so high, like an eagle in the sky. And when my Pachamama, I'm coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, I'm coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, I'm coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, I'm coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, I'm coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, I'm coming home to the place where I belong. To the place where I belong. To the place where I belong.
Excellent.
Bravo. That was really excellent. Right. So Emily's going to have a challenge now with you.
Nah, she'll be fine.
Or you could maybe do one together. Yeah.
Who knows?
Also works.
Could be.
Yeah.
Hi, Laszlo.
But who's there? You said this is a cover song.
Mm-hmm.
Who sang the original?
𝗙𝗘𝗏𝗏.
Oh, right.
His name is 𝗙𝗘𝗏𝗏. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah. I'd like to
But
hear the
it's
original.
great. You're performing great.
So Laszlo, thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks.
So Laszlo, just as we get going, I know that others introduced themselves prior to us starting, so maybe you just want to just say who you
Yes.
are.
Hi, sorry for coming late. Even though I spoke to Boyan yesterday and he told me that we start half an hour earlier. I didn't get the message before, but anyway, it was good talking to Boyan yesterday. So my name is Laszlo, originally from Hungary. I live in Geneva now for 20 plus years. And I recently set up my own company doing some business consultancy and startup consultancy for Swiss and European companies. So that's what I do.
Excellent. So Laszlo is a regular, he's been a guest. Boyan's been a guest. Roanna has been a guest. Carmen not been a guest yet.
And we are all alive, so you should
And
be
we
alive.
survived.
So people like joining because they like to hear other people's stories, right? And it's great fun because you can create a great network of people because everyone's really quite diverse. So when I do this, I try to find different people. If we're all the kind of the same, it become a bit boring. So the more diverse and different, the better it is also for the audience.
And we are all nice people.
Yeah, that's just one thing you have in common is you're all nice people.
What
Otherwise,
is true is true.
you wouldn't keep coming on. So anyway, Dan, thanks for that great song. So I'm going to put the spotlight on you. So let's just find out a bit about you. So where are you originally from and where are you living now? And then I'm going to take you on a journey, a bit of your childhood.
Well, we had a question before and I'm going to repeat myself. I don't know where I'm from, but the body was born in Holland and I think the spirit entered there too. But I'm in Brazil right now.
Right. Any particular part of Brazil?
Well, yes, I'm in the town called 𝗙𝗘𝗘𝗏𝗏, which is in the state of Goiás, which is about 240 kilometers north of the capital, Brasilia.
Wow.
So if Brazil is like, I'm really like in the middle.
Yeah, I know it quite well because my wife is Brazilian, but
right.
she's more on the northeast coast. So I mean, Brazil being so big, I mean, it'd be quite a journey there. So it's really in the middle of nowhere.
Pretty much, yeah. It's very isolated here. Yeah, the biggest city nearby is Brasilia, and apart from that, there's no big cities nearby. So it's quite far away from everywhere, which is good.
All right. So we're going to find out how you got there, but let's just before we get on that journey, let's just take a step back. So yeah, born in the Netherlands. Any particular part?
A town called Assendelft, which is just 20 minutes north of Amsterdam, so very close to the capital.
All right. Okay. You're always in the north of a country.
I guess so. I don't pick it out, yeah.
Okay, so you have any siblings?
I've got two older brothers. They both have families, they've got wives and kids, and yeah, they're still in Holland.
All right, okay. So were you kind of the adventurous one as a child, or?
I guess as a child I was much more adventurous. Well, yeah, my oldest brother was also, no, I think I was the more adventurous one, climbing into trees and exploring things and doing naughty things also. I did a lot more naughty things than my brothers, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Our previous guest actually used the very same words. I mean, she said that, I mean, she's from India. She said that she was a naughty schoolgirl, right? And very naughty at school. I mean, her story is fantastic. But I mean, yeah, I can relate to that because I thought I was a naughty schoolboy as well. I find that I was always kind of the adventurous one, very more hands-on practical than academical. And yeah, I kind of loved working with my hands. So looking at your profile also, you're also kind of that, I mean, very much hands-on.
Yeah, that's really how what I liked to do. Not so much as a child, not so much, well, as a teenager, as soon as I had my first little moped, I got really interested in machines and engines, and I wanted to learn how it works, so I started just taking them apart. And that really sparked my interest for learning how to work with cars and how to take engines apart and bigger things. So that's kind of what my hands-on experience was. But also the jobs that I had as a teenager, everything was handwork. So I've tried out, I don't know, maybe like 100 different jobs in my teenage time. Yeah.
So quite a number of jobs, but I mean, you spent a lot of time, I mean, obviously taking things apart and putting them back together. Did they work when you put them back together again?
No, not always. Well, most of the time.
But I mean, I was always kind of fascinated. I mean, likewise, I did a subject at school called it was called roadcraft, and we would have donated cars to the school. I mean, old bangers basically, but it was our car, and in the class you learned how to drive, but you learned how to take the engine out and put it back in again. So take it out, take it apart, put it back together, and if it didn't work, you couldn't do the driving lessons around the school. So it had to work, right? So that, similar to you, gave me the first taste of like, how do things work? And then, yeah, there must be some logic to it.
Yeah.
But
fascinating.
Did you find, I mean, then you went on to being a roadside assistant mechanic.
Yeah, that was a big dream. I don't know. As soon as I learned, I think I already knew about this organization in Holland, the ANWB, which is the RAC of Holland, the Roadside Assistance Service. And I think I don't know, for me it was a big dream because you go out on the street with a van full of tools and equipment and you go rescue people and you go fix the problem on the spot, And I think we had a 98% success rate of fixing cars, or 95 or something. But most cars went back driving again. And it's super satisfying, but also, yeah, it would just be me and the van, So no boss, no people around me, not telling me what to do, and very creative job and driving around in all of Amsterdam. Amsterdam is a lovely city to be doing this work because, you're on the streets and the tourists and the movement. And Not so much in the winter when it's snowing or raining and you have to crawl under the cars. It was freezing. So there was difficult parts about this too. And also being called out of bed in the middle of the night was not pleasant. But in general, it was a really adventurous job and very rewarding also. Yeah.
So I guess you must have heard lots of stories from people. I mean, they're broken down and they're sharing the story. I need to get to so and so. How long is it going to be to fix the car? And yeah, and basically people are in distress because the car's not working, and you're kind of coming there as their guardian angel in a way, and you're fixing the car and helping them on their journey. So there must be a lot of satisfaction, because talking about, I think it was as much as helping the person as getting the car fixed.
Completely. I've heard some life stories in this job, man. And sometimes like the job was finished, but we'd stay another 10, 15 minutes because I was just listening to, their life. So yeah, you meet new people all the time. And I think I have a very, I think, soothing presence to the people. So naturally they feel comfortable soon and they share what's going on in their life. Yeah, that was also a wonderful element of the job.
Okay, so moving kind of forward. So after that, I mean, there is something that will resonate a lot with Boyan. You were fascinated not just with like car engines and things, you're also into aeronautical.
Correct. Yeah. Well, soon enough, I figured out that it's these moments in your life, no? You see a scenario in front of you and you think like, shit, man, that's going to be me in 30 years. And I saw that with the old mechanics in the garages where I was working. They were still getting the oil on their face. They had back problems or, lots of things. And I was like, that can't be the future. And also I was not intellectually challenged anymore after 2-3 years. When you know how a car works, there's not much more to explore. So I got bored also. And then I thought, so what's the next level? Well, airplanes seem more complex. So I went out to go and study a bachelor. I studied aviation engineering, got a degree, and I went to work as an aviation engineer for a business jet maintenance company. And you would think like, wow, that's a wildly technological advanced environment. No, and super interesting. But man, it's the most dry and dead kind of work you could do. Sorry, but yeah, because it's just all structurized and protocoled and there's not much freedom. That stuff that I had with the roadside assistance guys, you can't find that in an aircraft hangar. For example, I was helping the mechanics there because I just wanted to learn more about the planes, and I was helping them with replacing some stuff on the suspension, and there was a big pin that was stuck. And I said, well, let's bang it out then. And I grabbed the hammer, and that's like, no, you can't hit that with the hammer. Because you have to open the manual and find out the steps and get the right tool from the store, and then you have to push it out. And yeah, understandably, because it's a high safety environment, right? An ultra safe environment. So anyway, long story short, I got really bored very fast there, and then I thought, well, man, if that's not it, then now what? And then there was this guy walking in with a leather suitcase and nice shoes and a big smile on his face, and he was looking very fresh. And I said, wow, you look so happy. What do you do in your life? And he said, well, I'm an aircraft trader. I am a leasing consultant. I buy aircraft for clients, check out all the documents, and then transfer them to the new owner. And I thought, that's wildly interesting. I want that too. So I said, what did you study? He said, well, I did a master's degree in aerospace engineering. And I was like, well, isn't that really hard? And he's like, well, yeah, that's really hard, but if you want to do this job. So it was kind of weird, but I dropped my job and I signed up for that one, and I went through another 4-year university, and well, that was really cracking my brain, man. There's nothing more complicated than a master's degree in aerospace engineering. So I was done after that. But yeah, that was my next step.
Wow. So, I mean, I was just thinking about kind of the mechanics. I mean, with kind of the older cars as well, if the fan belt had broken and you didn't have another one, you could improvise. I mean, I've heard stories that like ladies use their tights and things to get it going. So, yeah.
Now you have a private jet and you can fix it the way you want. Yes, and you can sell it to anyone.
Yeah, more or less. I have friends in the private jet company that will take care of it for me. Yeah, very good friends. Yeah.
I guess you couldn't get your girlfriend's tights and fix a jet aeroplane with them. It's not the same.
Yet. No, it's not going to.
I mean, so if you didn't have the parts and the manual and follow the protocols, then you're pretty restricted.
They do
Yeah.
use duct tape though on the wings when there's a hole in the wing. I was shocked with that. They have high
Yeah?
velocity tape. So there's some quick fix, but they're very, very limited. Yeah.
All right. But did you ever learn to fly then?
I actually went for a pilot school because while I was studying in Delft, I also had this dream to become a pilot. So I did go through a little part of the selection, but I didn't make it because they said I was too bossy. I was not able to. Yeah.
Too bossy.
I think it was really good. I think they misinterpreted me and my energy, but maybe I was also not ready. But I'm very happy it didn't happen because I'm so glad I'm not an airplane pilot nowadays. So, yeah.
Okay. So, right, there must have been a turning point because I want to kind of move forward into
Yes.
what you're doing now and how you ended up in Brazil. Had you lived abroad? I mean, you mentioned earlier, I think prior to the show, that did you live in Ireland as well?
I've spent time. I lived a few months in Ireland, because I had an Irish girlfriend. I've also lived 1 year in England because at the time I had an English girlfriend who I met in Australia. So I also lived in Australia for a year. That was before that. Yeah, I've been around.
So tell us how it started. So you're in this kind of aviation job, and was there something that kind of happened one day that I don't want this either, or something that triggered kind of the change?
A big one. My relationship ended with my Dutch girlfriend at the time, and I started talking with one of my friends who also just ended his relationship, and he said I was not wearing the pants. And I said, well, as a guy, I think it's healthy for us men to have some kind of direction or some kind of, in the relationship. And he said, yeah, I don't have that, and I've never learned that. And I said, well, I also never learned that. And I realized that all my previous partners, I kind of just met them, but I never really approached somebody I was attracted to. And I realized that I didn't have that skill, and I was very uncomfortable in my social dynamics, and particularly in relationship to women that I was attracted to. And that led actually to us. Well, I had a PDF that somebody sent me years before that about how to double your dating by 𝗪𝗘𝗔𝗥. It was really funny. And it was kind of like a user manual for men who are clumsy with women and how to get better at it, how to improve your relationships with them and your communication skills, and also, how to interact. But
Did it work?
not knowing
Did it work?
Yes, it works, but now when I look back 10 years later, it's not a very healthy approach, okay? I would advise something else. So don't read that ebook when you want to get better at
So
it.
don't send us the link.
No, I'm not going to send you the link. Much better to just become a more beautiful human being and work on yourself, because then naturally you will become more radiating and more attractive. But it takes a little bit of time to figure that out. But before I opened that book, basically, I thought I was just who I am, and I can't really change the basic fundamentals of who I am. But that book opened my eyes that I can grow. I never had this growth mindset of my essence of my being. Sure, I was studying and traveling and meeting people, but I was following the regular movement of society that teaches you to just go for education and work, right? The regular societal program doesn't teach you to go inside and to find out who you are and what is your purpose in life and what are your values and how do you interact with others, but also how do you serve the collective, the society, the others outside of you. So, well, that led to me starting a so-called mastermind group in Amsterdam with other men that I found on a dating platform, not a dating where you meet women, but a dating platform where men teach each other about dating. And we started a working group, like a personal development group of these men. And in there were some guys about spirituality and about nutrition, and somebody was there about purpose. And they all said, if you want to become an attractive man, you got to be on purpose. So that started the quest for purpose. And I was like, what's purpose? So I found a website called High Existent that explains about 2 plant medicine, iboga and ayahuasca, that will reveal you your soul and your spirit and your being. And I was like, wow, when I read that, I thought, I got to go for it. And it was in the end, the ayahuasca that really gave me a full-blown spiritual awakening. Before that, I didn't believe in anything energetic and spiritual, and I didn't even think we had a soul, man. I thought really was a atheistic, reductionistic, materialistic guy that was very good with his mind, but did not really live from the heart. And there was another thing that I encountered in many websites and stuff, like, to be really alive, it's about living from the heart. And I thought, what does that mean? So it was this first ayahuasca experience that really let me experience my infinity. I experienced my light body. And I also experienced the love of the planet for humanity. And it's indescribable. It's kind of, I imagine it's the kind of love that a mother feels for a child. I could feel the mother love of the planet for humanity.
So can I just ask you, sorry to interrupt, can I just ask you, how long ago was that?
That was in 2014, the 11th of May, 2014.
All right, you remember the day as well.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget, man. I can still feel it.
Right, so that was the biggest turning point, or one of them. I guess there's more to follow after that, but that was so then what happened? I mean, had you already traveled to Australia and Ireland and the UK?
Yeah, that was way before that. Yeah, that was way before that. And I was also traveling to many other countries. Every year I would take a 3-month holiday into the world. So I've scouted the planet quite a bit. But yeah, that was a turning point because it definitely showed me something, because there was a third experience that night. That was that I started to move and breathe deeply. And then I cannot describe it other than experiencing the Big Bang inside of myself. There was so much energy coming inside of my system that I just started to roar like a lion, you know. And the month after that ayahuasca experience, I was having quite a lot of challenge in my life. Mental health issues, addictions, lots of depression. I was not well in my life at the time, not taking good care of myself. And the month after that ceremony, I was in full peace. It was like living in a pink cloud. And that, in combination with that energetic expansion, that drove me on a path like, I got to figure out what this is and integrate this into everyday life. I got to be like this, because it faded away after the month. The depression came back, the negative thoughts came back, the addictions came back, and yeah, it's been really hard. But I never stopped anymore on that quest, and that really led me to where I am today, and to Gaianet, and to wanting to build cities, and well, everything.
Okay, so at that point, I mean, I want to talk offline about some of these things, particularly psychedelics and things like that. So, but anyway, moving on. So, Gaianet. So you've mentioned that. I mean, I know what it is, and I'm in it, so I know. But I mean, for the audience, I mean, what is Gaianet, and how did that come about then?
Gaianet is a lot of different things. It looks maybe like a social platform, but we are actually a network of networks, and a network of visionaries and change makers that believe that a new paradigm is possible, and that are taking action on this, massive action on it daily. And the purpose of Gaianet, what is really the place in the world, is to unite all stakeholders of the new earth and to really facilitate this implementation of a so-called community type society. And if you're like, what the hell does all of that mean? That means that we envision that it's possible to create a world where all resources are shared transparently and abundant for everybody, where all of humanity has equal access, at least, to fulfill their needs. Doesn't mean that everybody will fulfill their needs, it's up to them, but it's in a way that the way things are happening now is there are small groups of people deciding over the many. And there is a lot of corruption, and there is a lot of, nodding of interest between politics and corporates and the population. It's not okay at the moment. It's very obscure, and there's a lot of suffering on the planet. And we believe that everything is already available right now on the planet to transition into a new form of society. And that is best described as a community type society, and that's best described in one of our project partners' documentation, which is the 𝗬𝗓𝗏 project. So if you want to read more and understand more of what it means to live as one community on the planet, then you can dive really deep in that work.
Okay, definitely share the links for that. I think this is amazing. And I mean, for people like myself, as soon as I heard you speak about this on someone else's podcast, that drew me towards you and wanted to connect. So just tell me about, I mean, you had this kind of vision and you felt this, you were already moving towards that. So how did you kind of start it? Did you start speaking to friends that you felt that they may want to come on board? And I mean, because you have a core team, so how did the core team come into it?
Man, I tried so much, James. I tried so much, man. In 2014, I was in one of these plant medicine ceremonies and was with mushrooms. And in the middle of the night, the mushrooms screamed in my ear, "Daan, you want to build a village in Costa Rica? But you have any idea how much work it is to get ready?" Because I was postponing. I was running a social entrepreneur mastermind business, and I was not really directing attention to this village project. So I started moving, and for 3-4 years, I hosted a lot of live gatherings, and I hired people through Upwork and did research and was trying to form a team, you know, to build this project in whatever Portugal, Costa Rica, but a technologically advanced village with lots of automation, which would include and remember ancient wisdom. So a fusion between ancient wisdom and modern technology. And it's been really hard. I talk with my family members, with my friends, but it's like nobody really got it, what I was talking about. So it's very hard. And I kind of like, at the end of 2019, that team fell apart. I at some point formed a core team, but there was just, I don't know, it's not the right time. And then a couple months later, I got a message from this guy called 𝗪𝗘𝗘𝗏. And he sent me a message and he said, "Look, man, I'm in Amsterdam and there's 3 people within 1 week that now ask me, have you met Daan Gorter already?" And he didn't know me. So he said, well, if 3 people reach out and they ask me if I know somebody, then I should make contact. And at that time, I was just traveling to Nepal and to India, and I was going on a big trip. But I said, when I come back in January, I'll send you a message. And so it happened. And I went over to his house. And I arrived at this place and we started talking about life and personal development. And we just went into a big journey together. It was a very magical encounter with a really beautiful exchange of energy and really like, okay, there is something here for us to explore. At that time, I was already with my business partner Reinier doing 𝗙𝗘𝗏𝗧, a social enterprise, no? And Alexander was also running exactly the same type of company. He was running a mastermind company for purposeful entrepreneurs called 𝗦𝗧𝗢𝗏. And we thought that we had some fusion of the 2 companies, no? And then Corona hit, and then in one of our mastermind demonstrations, there was a guy there called 𝗪𝗘𝗘𝗏, and we started talking about Alex, and he said, "Oh, I met Alex at 𝗘𝗔𝗖𝗛 the other week, and I also know this guy, and I attended one of his sessions, and Bart was there for a workshop on synchronicity, but that got canceled, and then he entered in our, it was all like really guided. We were really supposed to meet, right? So we brought him in, Alexander brought Stefan, his video editor, and then, yeah, we were with 5 guys, and we said, well, shouldn't we also have some female energy? So Reinier and myself had worked with Julia in the past to start something very similar. And when Corona hit, yeah, we realized we all had a big dream. We soon enough realized we had a big dream for a new world, for a new paradigm. And that everything that is needed to build that new world already exists, but there's just no connective tissue. So we invited Julia to join, and that's how the core team formed. We were 6 at the beginning.
Yeah, excellent. So at the time, you didn't have the name Gaianet. I mean, it was just the concept.
No. Yeah.
So how, I mean, because you kind of met the others, did you kind of take the lead, as in bring it all together? Or did you, are you all co-founders effectively? Or how did that?
Co-founders. There is no one founder. It's very beautiful. And we sat together in a circle from the beginning. You know, I sat in circle for a decade already with these men's groups, with the personal development groups, but also in many, many medicine circles with many indigenous people. And yeah, the circle is the way to go. So we looked for an organization formed from the get-go, and Julia had experience with holacracy. So we started with holacracy straight away. That means that you distribute the authority, make the decisions together, and yeah. So no one single leader, no one single founder or something. But there was a moment there that we were twisting and turning and getting people together and not really forming a strong group. And at some point, Alexander said, like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm getting on the boat. The boat's leaving, and I'm going to start a platform called 𝗦𝗧𝗢𝗏, or WIN was called the platform. Who's coming? And we all jumped on Alexander's boat. So Alexander did make the first big leap. And that's when the 6 of us really got together on this same boat, and we decided to go do it together. So there was this one person having this one big forward step, no?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do apologize. I put on the post that you were the founder. So I should have put co-founder. So
no, yeah.
All right. You just clarify that for the viewers that you are a co-founder.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So anyway, then the name. How did you come across the name?
Well, that was a beautiful journey too. But the short version is, during the first month of working with these guys, I met my wife, who was not my wife at the time, through also, I can only describe through magical encounters. And I went really deep with her, and I wanted to build a village in Costa Rica, right? And I had a very clear vision, and I had a website and flyers and folders. And when I met her and I got her project sent to me, I realized it was exactly the same, only of a much larger scale. And when I jumped on a call with her, then it was soon enough clear that I was dropping my project and I was going to go to Brazil. And in this discussion with her of like, she was working on the project for 10 years already, gathering people, engineers, building the network, working on funding and working on land. And I said, wow, you have so much ready already. What do you need? And she said, well, actually, we need a platform to connect the people. And I was like, well, we just happened to start that 2 months ago. And in this conversation with her, I asked her for a name, and she suggested us to use Gaianet. She proposed this, and I brought it into the group, and we talked about it, and it felt good. And we all decided together to name it Gaianet.
So she's part of the core team?
No, she's an advisor.
All right,
in our
okay.
team.
All right. But she's part of it, or is she just in an advisory capacity?
No, she's really an advisory role. She's not doing any work inside Gaianet.
So you hadn't met her personally or physically at that time when you were in the Netherlands?
No. All Zoom calls. It was at Corona. Everything was locked down. The world was locked down, man. Yeah?
So, and the other guys, I mean, Bart and Alexandra, I mean, they're living in the Netherlands as well, or were.
Yeah, they were nearby enough. Alexandra, I knew her within 20 minutes. Julia was in Belgium, but she moved to Holland at some point. And Bart came from Utrecht 1 hour, and Stefan was nearby too.
Yeah, I'm interested in this because it's good to kind of know the foundation of this, but I also want to move on to kind of what you're doing. So where is so you registered Gaianet, and how did you end up then deciding that I've got to go to Brazil?
Well,
you fell in love on the Zoom calls.
I spoke with 𝗪𝗍𝗪𝗍. The name of my wife is 𝗪𝗍𝗪, and the first time I spent time with her, she just talked to me for 2 hours about everything they had already done. And I was really crazy, man. I turned off the Zoom call, I went to sit down, and I sat there shaking for 20 minutes. I had such a big bodily experience of encountering this woman. And I went downstairs and I told my mom, I said, wow, I met the lady in Brazil and this is her project and she has land, money and everything. And my mom started to cry. And I was like, what's up? She said, you're moving to Brazil. And I didn't even know it myself. So my mom knew.
So you have... But, sorry, just to I mean, your mum, you've been quite close to your mum in that respect. I mean, on a more spiritual way.
Yes.
And
my mom has always been she didn't understand everything, but she's always been very open to listen to me. My dad was a bit more closed off, didn't really get it, but always like, it's whatever you do is good, son. That kind of attitude, you know, but my mom was really always listening and trying to understand.
Okay, and what about your brothers? Because you said they were older, so I mean, and the families, I mean, what do they think about what you're doing?
Yeah, I don't really think they get it much, what I'm doing. I think what I've been hearing in the back rooms is that they're worried about my financial future and about how I'm living my life. And that they have to take care of me later. And they don't have the level of surrender and trust that I have, that everything is going to be okay. You know?
I've heard that. As soon as you mention the word spirituality, I mean, it kind of puts you in a box from what other people see. And they think, well, yeah, I think you need some help, right? And yeah, it's about time they woke up. You're already awake. So,
whenever they're ready, man. Yeah.
So you moved to Brazil, and you just packed up one day that I'm off. Obviously, you'd arranged where you were going to go.
Actually, I first met my 𝗪𝗍𝗪𝗍 in Ireland for 2 weeks because she couldn't fly to Holland because of the regulations, and I didn't want to go to Brazil because my dad was having a metastatic prostate cancer and he was terminal and at the end path of his life, and I didn't want to risk anything, so I didn't want to go to Brazil because it was so bad with the pandemic. So we actually met up in Ireland for 2 weeks, and we spent 2 weeks in a lake house. just the two of us, and it was pure magic and really wild kind of energetic expansions. It was incredible. So when I came back, I freaked out completely because my wife's 11 years older. She's got 2 kids living in Brazil. That was not my idea of my next partner, so to speak. There was a lot of mind things that were freaking me out, but my heart was just screaming, you gotta go, you gotta go. So after 1 month, I proposed to her. And in November, I flew over, and in December, we got married. So that was like 5 months after we met online or something. It's kind of crazy.
Excellent.
And I'm still here, so going strong.
Excellent. You married in Brazil?
In this town here.
Actually,
we went with the whole Gaianet team to Brazil, and we brought a bunch of other Dutch people, and we were here with an invasion of like 50 internationals or something. No, it was really good.
So that was quite recently then?
That was in December 2020.
Right. Okay. And this is where you live now. I mean, where you are here, I mean, this is your home.
This is my home, where I am now, yeah.
It's very nice.
It's lovely, super beautiful. The view also is amazing of the mountains and the forest here.
Yeah, I'm coming. Yeah, I married in Brazil as well. But I'm originally from Scotland, so I married with my kilton. So I mean, you can imagine in Brazil, in the middle of nowhere, and you're in like an old Portuguese colonial town, and then you're marrying with a kilton and all the gear, and everybody's looking, well, who the hell is this guy? What's he wearing a skirt for? Right. So, but anyway, magical. So I have to come and visit. So anyway, let's carry on with Gaianet. So Gaianet, now, I mean, also with you mentioned Bart and Alexandra. I mean, you've got something going in Portugal as well. So how has Gaianet expanded, and what is it that the platform offers?
It's expanded through heart-to-heart connections. So we have a certain onboarding and a certain vouching process for existing members to invite new members into the network, but only people that they know well and people that they trust and that they feel a deep appreciation for, and preferably also people who are already working towards a new paradigm. So we have some, suggestions, I would say, for that. And besides that, what we've been doing, Bart and Alexander and myself are really strong networkers. So we meet a lot of people all the time, and we are also scouting a lot in the world and go to networking events, but also, I don't know, browse through LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. And whenever we see something that really looks like, people working towards our common direction, then we contact them and we invite them into the network. Through that, we've been building a database of projects. I think we have rough estimation, around 1,000 projects in our orbit, of which we have 300 well classified, of which there are 50 or 60 projects that are highly in resonance with the mission of Gaianet, and therefore we have deep relationships with them. And we've facilitated all kinds of spaces to help them remove the barriers to synergy, so that these projects can cross-pollinate, collaborate more, get to know each other, share resources, and be this connective tissue. And something on the side is we are also attending events. So what you're saying, this gathering of tribes that is happening in Portugal next week is organized by Rebuild, and mainly Victor Vorsky is the driving energy behind this gathering this time. And it's like a Burning Man style camp where all the people come and then build their own camps and share the story about their organizations. And it's a physical get together, actually, with pain in my heart that I'm not going. So I would really like to be there.
Yeah, I saw the invite as well. So, I mean, I'm also involved in that. Well, not that particular one in Portugal, although ironically, I mean, my wife studied in Portugal, so we've been to Portugal a lot. But that's another story. So, but also you've got other team members in there that this is how we met Barbara, I think. I met Barbara Lima through there, and she's been a guest on the show as well. And so she's a very interesting person as well. So she has a particular role also within Gaianet.
Correct. Yeah, at this moment, the role that she's really energizing is that of a facilitator in our New Earth Village fractal. So we have a subgroup within Gaianet on our Mighty Networks environment. We call that a fractal. And there we invite village builders, and we invite them also once every 2-3 months to do a presentation. And she is the facilitator of those presentations. So that's one thing that she's doing. And besides that, yeah, man, she's been a wonderful help. She did podcasts with us. She is really connecting us with other fields and people on a regular basis. So she's a really nice connector. And I also just have regular conversations with her to share ideas. So she's also like a bit of an advising energy sometimes, no? And at this moment, it's really beautiful. She's working on the release of her first magazine, which is pretty much describing the regenerative movement and this emergence of this new paradigm. So I was interviewed and also going to be in there, and Gaianet will have a full page of our services and stuff. It's going to be beautiful. So right now she's really crammed up with that kind of work.
Yeah, that's excellent, because she was talking about that, because she's also, as a guest, you get the option if you want to be kind of in the book club. And we just have a collection of 12 or so previous guests that want to collaborate and share their stories in a collective book. So she's also part of that, as is actually Laszlo, Bojan, Rowana. So if you want to join, then let me know afterwards. But I mean, it'll be something also magical, because it is like all of these magic stories coming together. So
sure.
Now I want to open this up now to the audience to ask any questions. So if you've got any to them, and maybe they want to ask you a bit more about Gaianet, maybe they want to ask you, I don't know, what you do when you're there, or how could they join, or whatever. So if that's okay with you.
I want to maybe add one more thing.
Yeah.
Briefly. Hopefully briefly. The reason I'm here in Brazil is because my wife was working on a vision to realize 144 light cities on the planet, a global network of cities that can have such a strong economic power that it can become independent of the current market state environment. And I think it's good to mention that Gaianet is a network of people that are going to offer the skills and the blueprints and that kind of stuff. But it's also good to mention that this partner I talked about, 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧, that is really the prototype that we want to build here in Aalto. And Gaianet's really going to serve and support that project also. So I think it's worth mentioning that the first prototype of this network of cities is going to be emerging, well, hopefully here in 𝗬𝗘𝗏. I really strongly feel that. And we already have access to very, very big lands. And well, if this excites anybody, then please don't hesitate to reach out. Also for that project, obviously we need a lot of help.
But when you mention access to a lot of land, is that in Brazil?
Yes, here in Aalto and in 5 other places. My wife has a lot of network in Brazil, knows a lot of indigenous people, but also farmers and big landowners. And yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm just going to book my ticket.
Come.
I'd love to. Yeah, and yeah, Bojan also. Bojan's got the question.
Yes, I got 2 questions. Have you been in another country that starts with letter B, like Bulgaria, where I am now?
Well, I know plenty of people in Bulgaria that are working on these things too, so.
Yeah, this was actually goes to my next question. Since I am a software and business systems, how do you manage so many projects? How do you cooperate? You use specific software tools, or how do you collaborate?
Yeah, that's really the new earth field, I would say, of all these projects is very immature. I think we are really at a very early phase. Like, I don't know, where maybe in the early 90s, the internet development was, you know, when the infrastructure is not really good and the software is not really mature yet and not really developed.
I witnessed this early stage of internet.
And you know what it's like. So in Gaianet, we're using Mighty Networks, we're using Zoom, we're using Google Drive, and we're using Airtable. Airtable is our main database. And the tool we're using to coordinate work now is called Nestor. Nestor is a self-organization tool, nestor.io. I really love the tool. But at some point we need a global information system, man. We need a centralized computer system, of course distributed, that it's resilient, but something that can really capture all this data and much better exchange it with each other and makes it transparent. But it's hard. So
you mentioned within Gaianet there's these 120 or whatever different kind of projects going on.
1,000, he mentioned. 1,000.
1,000 or whatever projects. Yeah. How do you manage all that? And how many, I mean, is it a subscription-based platform? Is it a community? How does the platform work in that respect?
No, we are like, life is open source, man. So we don't do subscriptions and stuff. And I think everything should be open source in the world. So these, I'd say at least 1/3 of the 1,000, at least 300 of the projects, we know the project leader personally through having had deep conversations with them. And how do we manage the project? Well, we definitely don't manage anything because everybody is very well taking care of themselves. But we are doing our best to bring them together in spaces and then to feel and to see and to observe and really listen to their needs and improve. So where we are now at the end of this month, it's in 3 weeks from now, we're going to have a very big experiment where we invited 25 of these projects, subdivided in 3 sectors of the wheel of co-creation, as we call it. There are 3 sectors of a whole systems design. I can even show it if you want. But anyway, we're inviting these 25 organizations to come together in a so-called self-organization experiment. I can't share my screen.
Yeah, you can now. I'll just give you.
Okay, so this is Nestor, also for Boyan, maybe nice to see. This is Nestor.io. And wait, let me just, whoops, shit. Okay, that didn't go well. I was just going to change my language. Anyway, you'll have to do with me in Dutch for now. It doesn't really matter. So this is the tool, and here we have Gaianet. This is our organization, right? So this is a holacratic setup. We have an advisor circle, we have the integration circle, and then the so-called general company circle. And all the pink roles are roles that I'm energizing. So these are roles within that circle, okay? So normally use this tool for one organization with individuals who energize roles. Now, when we started working with this for a couple of months, we realized like this is a great alignment of purpose, because what this does, the Gaianet itself has this mission to connect and unite, and each sub-circle follows that purpose. In holacracy, purpose is the boss instead of an individual. So you have a great common goal and you let that lead the way. I think all of humanity should work like that, but that's another thing. And as we were doing this, we realized that how can we get these projects to be more aligned? Well, they all need to align around the same purpose, no? Like if we have purpose alignment, then we have direction alignment. And we also saw this from the research that we did in the field, that there is a lot of purpose alignment. And the greater goal of the so-called New Earth, which is this big field here, right, is a community type society on Earth. This means a society that optimizes for global human need fulfillment and ecological restoration. That's what community type society means, as specified again by Ørvene. So what can you do? You can create sub-circles here, and these circles are based on the wheel of co-creation by Barbara Marx Hubbard. It's one of the ontologies to gather data and to group data. There's many forms and structures, like you have the UN SDGs, that is also called an ontology. It's a methodology of grouping data in databases, right? And this is just one of the methodologies to group data. And in this case, we use it for these projects. And we thought, well, instead of having people representing roles, what if we let the organizations represent roles and then get a representative of the organization, of course, to represent this organization? And what does this mean? For example, here, the sector relations, peace building and community has as a goal to improve deep human connections and interactions with each other to manifest our shift to loving oneness with all life. So this is really about creating connection and interaction. So this is the purpose of Gaianet also. Huh? That's why Gaianet's here. But other organizations that you see here, for example, are Eco-Civilization, is a European network. The Lucille Foundation, that bring together indigenous wisdom and community. Here is Rebuild, that's facilitating the gathering of tribes also. World of Wisdom from Scandinavia, they are also a network of networks, and this is another Dutch organization and an American organization who are all very similar to Gaianet, right? So what are we going to do with all these people? We're going to bring them together in a 2-hour operational meeting. So what we're going to do this for the sector housing, infrastructure and transport. We have some really, here's 𝗪𝗓𝗏 also again. This is a sacred geometry architect bamboo company. It's wild. This is a bamboo sacred geometry city in Indonesia. This is a regenerative hub in Portugal. This is where we have had rebuild gatherings, and Bart and Alex are here now. Liminal Village is a regenerative place in Italy. This is a network of regenerative villages. This is a project in the Azores by Shane Williams, a conscious hub. Bioautonomy is a nature-based solution for autonomous buildings, also incredible architectural company. 𝗬𝗘𝗔𝗥 regenerative hub in Costa Rica. And Super Nature Labs is also a wildly interesting architectural company that uses, I don't know, cellular structures for high-density living in cities. And there's other partners here. So we're going to bring them together in a 2-hour meeting and let them ask questions, share information, and also ask for work, and hopefully maybe even start some projects together. So this is another kind of experiment that we are doing to, you know, remove these barriers to synergy. And it comes forth from our conclusions of the deep research that we did earlier this year in the Gaianet ecosystem. We're doing very deep surveys and interviews, and the people who have answered to that, those are all the projects that you just saw in this new Earth field.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. I think it's fantastic. I love it. And happy to be part of it as well. So I'm on kind of the educational side. Oh, Roanna, you got a question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the, you know, where does food come into this and our way of eating? Because a lot of us, we don't realize, and especially new meats and vegetarian and vegan products are really actually toxic. So I'm just wondering, how does food come into this?
Well, food is super important, of course. We have our eyes on any kind of project that's working on regenerating the soil through agroforestry, syntropic farming, and that kind of stuff, but also people who are into rotational grazing and restorative agriculture. So we are also gathering the projects and partners that are into, you know, healthy food production. And our big dream here is to buy some old monoculture farms, turn them into agroforest, and build living environments in there at the same time. And some of the projects that I just showed you, like Golden City or Traditional Dream Factory or 𝗬𝗘𝗔𝗥, they are all going to have agroforests. So the big mindset in the field here, and the projects and the people that we meet, they all very much understand that we need to have whole system solutions for food production also.
Yeah, 2 minutes, there's someone at my gate, so I have to go, but I'll be back.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Paul is in South Africa, right? And yeah, do you have any projects or anything in South Africa, Daan?
𝗘𝗔𝗖𝗛 and Social Systems Lab, and there's a bunch of other people there. Michael is there with Unitree. Yeah, we have people there. There's quite a lot happening in Cape Town, like as in energy-wise, spirituality-wise, and this kind of new Earth movement. It's very exciting.
Yeah, excellent. So let's have a look at kind of what it is that you need to help grow Gaianet. Is it people? Is it technology? And what is it that you need?
Capacity is very important. So anybody who is willing to put in hours or connections, and money would also be very welcome, but we also realize we need to be self-sufficient. So the team needs to grow. We have 2 seats open in the so-called general company circle that I showed you earlier. And we have 4 or 5 seats open in our community circle of people who can help further grow the Mighty Networks environment. And that means like exploring better what are the needs of the members, how can we provide learning journeys, events, and all this kind of thing, but also how can we better communicate to the outside world. Now, as you see on the website, we've done a lot of this work. We have branding guides, communication strategies, it's all there. So all the necessary ingredients is there, but we're just lacking hands. So we need more hands. That's one thing. So if you believe that a new world is possible and you want to join and you want to contribute, then please come. The other thing that we need is, well, need is a big word, but let's say we are very open for more yeah, consulting clients, I would say, because we've been exploring with self-organization for 2.5 years. And we are now helping a Belgian team start up with holacracy and with the organization structure, and it's going very well. And they've just signed up for another 3 months. But we want to help groups who need team alignment, or groups who you know, want to have transparency together and honesty and love in their work as they are together, but they're struggling with how to get to output. So they're either having personal conflict or they don't have the strategy to do the work. And we pretty much have a whole system solution for when you have a vision and a dream and you have a group of people, but you have no idea how to manifest that vision or dream, then you can call us. And we can guide you by the hand, step by step, until the moment that you become fully autonomous in your own coordination and output, really. So we're looking for projects that need help and have money. So that's important too. Yeah. And to dream really big, we need land, man, and we need a lot of money, but I don't think it's going to come out of, private people.
Right. So in Brazil, you talked about all this land. Will there be a special project, a real living world kind of project happening in Brazil?
Absolutely. We have a very clear strategy here. We want to first bring 30, 40 families here and create an experimental living lab where we implement as much as possible to become as autonomous as possible. But obviously with 30, 40 families, you cannot be self-sufficient completely. You will be dependent on the outside world. We want to create that as some kind of an incubator where we test and prototype a lot of the solutions of the projects that we have in our orbit. And the goal is, with that team, to develop a master plan to work towards the first prototype of 1,000 homes. And that's where we will integrate even more of the projects that we are having in the orbit of Gaianet.
So you mentioned about you'd like 30 families to come into a project in Brazil. And I mean, would that then be kind of, the idea is to be self-sufficient, so there'll be different programs that would be geared for children, for the adults, I mean, to build that community.
Totally, yeah.
And being self-sufficient.
Uh-huh.
Roanna, you've got a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It was my old neighbour at the door, so and she just kept pressing the bell. I just heard the end of your talk there, Dan. You were saying about you're looking for projects who need help, and you know I've built this online course, and it's very holistic. It's not just about food; it's about food, what we're putting in our minds, the negative thoughts and things, and how this all impacts how our bodies work. Well, our 3D bodies anyway. Also things like stress, trauma, and then also products that we're putting on our skin, like sun creams and beauty products, or products that we're using to clean the house, which are causing us major issues with our brain, like toothpaste, all that sort of stuff. So I've created this interactive online course, but actually I feel that I want to build a team so that we can, because my course is so general, you can actually take it and tweak it for different lifestyles. So if you want to be a vegan or a healthy vegan or vegetarian, you can do, or you know, if you want, you can take it to different cultures by I have a food guide, so you just tweak the food guide. So I'm actually looking to actively manifest a team or an organization where I can slot in to help. And it's all about education, holistic education of people to inspire them to change their eating and lifestyle habits for health, because I've just seen so many people suffering and dying from lifestyle diseases, and they're just so preventable.
Yeah. The whole world is polluted in many ways. But yeah, when you have some people around and you need help with coordinating the people or aligning them around the vision or whatever, then we are at service. So you can find more on the website of Gaianet under the support tab in the top, where you can read a little bit more about what we've done and how we help.
Yeah, I think a good idea is probably, if you want to know more about Gaianet, I mean, you have to go through certain, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to go through certain gates, because you have to you want the right type of people in there, and not just kind of time wasters or people that it doesn't resonate with them. And then once you get in, then it's about then networking with the others and then seeing what it is that you can do. I mean, what you offer there, to me, it comes under the educational part. And I mean, this is something that I'm working also with Angel and Robert and others on. So, I mean, in education is also not just what we bring, but also what the contributors bring. I mean, the audience, as in like something like Roanna, what you're doing, you can bring that to the community because it's something that you have the know-how and the knowledge about, whereas other people don't. So it's about sharing all of this knowledge, and how you package it up is another thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I want to do. Is I want to inspire people just to understand what I've learned in the last 9 years through basically it's applied research of how to live a healthy, sustainable way. My company's called 𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏, and 𝗏𝗧 is naturally organic, slim and healthy, and then it's 𝗏𝗧 carb cutting kickstart. So, but it's just about, it's not a diet, it's a change of eating and lifestyle, especially with hypnotherapy to help people, give them motivation and self-belief. And it's all coming from the heart. I mean, I've been bootstrapping, I've been bootstrapping myself, but I now feel that it's time that I manifest a team to help me get this out to more people.
Right. Maybe you can find collaborators in the Gaianet network. If you would like, I would love to invite you personally into the network. So.
Oh, thank you. That would be amazing.
Okay, Roanna, then please send your email address here in the chat, and I'll make sure you get invited.
Okay.
Yeah, so have we got any other questions from anyone in the audience? Any questions, anyone?
By the way, we're not that, it's not like we're strict with the people entering into the network. We just want to feel if it's something useful for the people. But yeah, the way you described it, anyway.
Well, I put the link to my course as well, and the first lesson is free. So that sort of tells you about, it's something called, a concept I've created called the golden fists of how we manage our weight, and it's good dietary fats and getting rid of internal visceral fat, insulin control, stress, trauma, and sleep. Yeah. I think that's the 5 elements of which are at the heart of how we can manage our health.
Yeah, totally. And it's really important that this is like essential. We need to first take care of the body and of the mind and of our energy levels in order to be of service to the rest of the world. So the first step we got to do is take better care of ourselves. I studied a lot of the things that you were describing. I'm not an absolute expert, but my dad was terminally ill for a long time, and we had a strict ketogenic diet for him with like 12 grams of carbs a day, and he really got a lot more energy and better sleep and more stable emotions. In the end, he still died from the cancer, unfortunately, but we did extend the quality of life. And I myself have seen the massive changes. Also taking my wife through cutting carbs and eating more healthy fats and reducing the stress and having better boundaries, but also having less distractions and less stimuli and be more here, all of that adds to your level of presence and your contribution to the world.
Everything.
Yeah, Dan, you also do shamanic work. Dan.
Sorry, me?
Yeah,
correct.
So you want to talk a bit about that?
I can talk about that. It's more like a little side job, but it's obviously not just a side job.
I mean, it's quite important, I think.
No, it's very important. I can honestly say that the last 8 years of my life have just been guided by this vine, which is the ayahuasca vine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was that ceremony that I told you about, where I had my so-called spiritual awakening, and after helping my mentor, my maestro, facilitate for about 2 years, I went to the Amazon rainforest and I lived for a few months with the Shipibo tribe, and we drank almost every day. It was really intense, and I did some plant diets. And when I came back, I started to guide people through this work. So ever since then, I've been guiding these ceremonies and attended also many ceremonies. And actually, the reason why I first came to this town, 𝗙𝗘𝗘𝗏, was already in 2017, was for a festival with indigenous shamans, was for an ayahuasca festival in this town. By the way, we're having another one in January. If you really want to experience 3 weeks of magic with indigenous people from all over South America, North America, then you should come. You can hit me up afterwards for more info. So yeah, I've been guiding this work because before all of this, when I was in this mastermind group with men, right, we were really trying to approach this from the mind and read books and do meditation. And I was also coaching and guiding people to find their purpose and to find more meaning, but it's just not so effective. And then I looked at psychotherapy, also didn't look so effective. And then when I came in contact with these plants and I saw the transformation that it brought, I thought like, holy shit, man, this is it, you know? So that's when I started guiding people, and I have seen people transform completely. And people who were in therapy for a decade, who tried all kinds of therapists, who tried all kinds of other things, and it didn't hit it. And after their first ceremony, that's really when the whole life started to change. Now, this is not a guarantee for anybody that's going into this kind of process. Huh? First of all, it's got to be for you. Second of all, you got to be ready. Third of all, the medicine's got to be good. Fourth of all, the guide has to be really, like, you have to have a really solid and honest and truthful person guiding you. But when you have those things in place, then there's a very good success rate that it will be life-changing.
But you actually take people on that as well?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yeah, excellent. Right. Okay, then, so we should book a retreat and we'll all be over.
That's the idea at some point, to have retreats here in Brazil for people from all over the world.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. We get Barbara to help facilitate it as well.
Uh-huh. Oh, but she'll come. I'm sure she'll attend. Yeah.
Actually, you've not met Barbara in person.
No, not yet. I can't wait.
I mean, most of us here have not met each other either, but you kind of build that network and that trust just from these weekly calls that we have. So Dan, I know we could talk all day, and yeah, what's the time for you at the moment? It's early.
9:38.
Right. Oh, how's your Portuguese, by the way?
Ah, tá muito bom.
Ah.
Eu posso falar bastante com as pessoas aqui, não posso entender tudo, mas yeah.
Oh, very good. Better than mine, then.
I have a business partner in São Paulo, in Brazil.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't speak English. I don't speak Portuguese, but through Skype it's translating. But it's quite good communication. We know what we're doing, but it's quite a challenge as well.
Yeah, that's a challenge. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, Dan, we're just going to wrap this up. But I mean, I'm sure there's people here that want to connect directly. You want to send some invites out. If people want to connect with you and know more about Gaianet, if you provide me the links and everything, then I'll share those with the audience so that they can check it out. And if they're not sure, they can reach out to you. And for other things, you mentioned earlier, which we talked about prior to coming on with Carmen, about how we can create more visibility in the way that we can use things like Clubhouse and other methods to get the name out there. So these are all ideas.
It would really help. I'm very excited about what Carmen suggested of I hope she's going to reach out, of helping us out to get on Clubhouse or facilitate some space there. So yeah, we need the word spread. We don't do active marketing. We don't have a big budget. It's all going through word of mouth. So please share the word, if you are listening to this and you think that what we're doing is useful and great, then please help us.
Yeah, well, I was bought into this a year or so ago. So, I mean, I love it. I love the people in there. I've got to know quite a few of them now, and I highly recommend it for everybody. Even if you just want to be there, kind of a bystander and watch what's going on, you'll learn a lot just from that. So many different things that you can do. And as you said, it's kind of open in the way that if you come with some ideas, then those ideas might benefit others and you run with those. So anyway, Dan, you have been our 97th guest, an absolutely fantastic guest. And I've been meaning to have you for some time. So I think the time was actually right now. And it's been an absolute pleasure. And I wish you great success. And I hope at some point that we get to meet each other as well.
That'd be nice, James. I'm really looking forward to that, to give you a good long hug. That would do good.
Yeah, and I want to go on some of these magical trips with you as well.
Absolutely. Well, I'm here. So whenever you show up, I'm serving.
And I'm buying. But okay then. So on that note, I wish you all a fantastic weekend. Thanks to our regulars that come on, and yeah, I hope to see more people come on each week. And yeah, Dan, yeah, you've been, as I said, a fantastic guest, our 97th guest. So I don't know who our 100th guest is going to be yet. So that could be a surprise for all of us. But anyway, yeah, as I said, right, thanks once again, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Stay connected on Telegram.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Wow, that was another featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact. If you'd like to be our next featured guest or learn how James Moffat can help you leverage on the art and power of interactive storytelling for your business, reach out and schedule a call now.